It broke my heart to see last week Derrick Rose leave the game with a knee injury because I'm like, oh no, I just get the sense that this isn't going to be good. And it's not. He tore his meniscus and his other knee, not the knee that he tore his ACL in, but his other knee now. And he's going to be out for the rest of the 2013-2014 season. That sucks. Me as a Bulls fan, it sucks. It just sucks in general. It sucks for the NBA because you're talking about one of the premier flagship franchise players in all the league, one of the elite players at his position, one of the elite players in all the NBA, is gone again for effectively the second straight full regular season. That sucks. The NBA is a league built on star power. And one of your top stars continues to miss games and doesn't play, that does hurt the overall league, especially when you're talking about a team in the third largest media market in the country like Chicago, an organization that has the lineage of Jordan Pippen going back in the 90s, winning 6 championships. This is a marquee featured attraction franchise in today's NBA. And when the star player on that star team is now out for the second straight year, that hurts not only the Bulls, but the entire NBA in general. But I think it really is important now that the Chicago Bulls as an organization really look at themselves in the mirror and evaluate their current position, realize what they are, realize what they aren't, and maybe explore the possibility of a complete and total rebuild. Now, you're going to sit there and say, well, the Bulls did that before, and how did that really work out? Well, yeah, but you're talking about the Penguin Jerry Krause. That dumb son of a bitch would sit there and draft a power forward every fucking year. Oh, we really like Corey Blunt. We really like Dickie Simpkins. We really like Jason Caffey. Oh, my God. We really like Elton Brand. We really like Marcus Pfizer. I think we've got 2 great long athletes in Tyson Chandler and Eddie Curry. Jerry Krause isn't running the show anymore. Now, I don't have the most confidence in John Paxson and Gar Forman either, because the bottom line is this is an organization this year that has a salary cap figure of like $80 million for a non-championship contending team. And make no mistake about it, don't confuse yourself, don't delusionize yourself, whatever term you want to use. The Bulls were not a championship contender this year. They weren't. And they're not next year and going forward. So why keep a team like that that's built to basically be the third or fourth best team in its own conference? I don't want to see a team be the third or fourth best team in its own conference. I want to see a team either be really bad and be building itself up to being a championship contender or being a championship contender. And the Bulls right now are neither one of those. They're in that kind of cycle of middle of the road. And that, to me, is the worst place you want to be. Looking ahead to next year, you've got Luol Deng, a free agent at the end of the year. The bottom line is they have no business re-signing him. As long as Luol Deng plays in Chicago, they are going to continue to pin their hopes on a guy who, one, has his own injury problems and is not always the most reliable in terms of being able to be in the lineup on a game-in, game-out basis. But you're also going to rely on a guy to be a number 2 option when Luol Deng is not a number 2 option on a good team. He's a number 3 or maybe number 4 option. So as long as he's there for the Bulls, since he was drafted by him, he's been there almost a decade, they're going to have elevated hopes for him compared to what the rest of the reality in the NBA is. And are you going to continue to want to pay a guy? Luol Deng is getting paid $14 million this year, a little over that. Are you going to want to pay this guy like a 5-year, $80 million contract with his injury history and with his limited production, somewhere around 16, 17 points a game? Do you really want to tie up $16 million a year for the next half decade into a guy like Luol Deng? I don't think so. He's got to go. You look at Carlos Boozer, you've got one more year after this year, one more year left on that god-awful, horrible contract they gave him. He's got a figure next year of a little over $16 million. He needs to be amnesty. What does Carlos Boozer bring to the table? As long as he's there, again, as long as he's there, the Bulls are going to expect him to play to a contract that he was never going to be able to play to. They're going to view him as a number 2 or number 3 option, when in all reality, at this stage in time in Carlos Boozer's career, he's only a number 2 or number 3 option on a really bad team where he could pad his statistics offensively and play absolutely zero defense. And that's the truth of the matter. The Bulls right now, heading into next season, assuming that Luol Deng is not re-signed, and assuming at this point that Carlos Boozer they keep around because they're dumb dicks, you're talking about a team that has about $66 million in salary towards the cap. They're already over the cap. And that by no means a team with a Derrick Rose coming off of 2 straight years that he's basically missed because of an injury an ACL tear in his right knee and a meniscus tear in his left knee. Joakim Noah, Carlos Boozer, Jimmy Butler, Taj Gibson, Mike Dunleavy, You ain't winning shit with that lineup. Period. So why continue to trot it out there? You got to blow this whole thing up. You got to amnesty Carlos Boozer. Get rid of that 16 plus million off of the salary cap. You got to sit there and explore trading Joakim Noah and Taj Gibson. Between those two players right there, they take up 20 million in your salary cap space next year. 20 million for Joakim Noah and Taj Gibson. Again, you're not winning any NBA championships with $20 million tied up into those two players. And then you get to Derrick Rose. You're talking about a guy that has a long-term contract, still has several more years. Based off of right now the figures as they stand for the 2014-2015 season, you're talking about a Derrick Rose. Let's say you amnesty Carlos Boozer. You got your total salary down as a team at the moment to like $50 million. Derrick Rose's salary is like 18.8 for next year. He's taking up almost 40% of your total salary cap space right there in one player. A player, again, yeah, hometown kid, great, one of the best players in the league when he plays, but that's when he plays. He's now going to miss 2 straight full seasons in the NBA because of knee problems at a position that puts lateral agility and quickness and explosiveness at a premium. Are you really going to want to continue to tie your wagon to this flaming out star in Derrick Rose with 2 bum knees? Do you really want to do that? Or do you want to, in the offseason, find a team that's willing to take a gamble, take a chance on Derrick Rose, and trade him off and get that salary off the books? Do you want to find a way to maneuver yourself into what looks like to be a very good draft class and get somebody like Jabari Parker or Andrew Wiggins or somebody along those lines in the 2014 draft? To me, at this point, that's what I would rather do. Why would you want to continue to have that much salary tied up into a player who might consistently miss a bunch of games for you? Why would you want to trot Carlos Boozer out in a Bulls uniform any more than you absolutely have to for no reason? Why would you want to repay Luol Deng all this money when he's nothing more than a number 3 or 4 option on a good team, when you're always going to look at him as a number 2 option as an organization? Do I really want to tie up $64, $80 million over the next 4 to 5 years for Luol freaking Deng? I don't think so. You could get something in a trade for Joakim Noah. You could get something in a trade for Taj Gibson. You might be able to, if you find the right team, the right dance partner, you might be able to trade Luol Deng before the trade deadline. Carlos Boozer at the trade deadline. Get something. Maybe get expiring contracts in return and free up a whole ton of salary cap space. So that way in the next year or two, you've added a top draft pick or two, you have some money to go out and spend, and then you're right back in the driver's seat where you could potentially really be contending in the Eastern Conference, because Miami's going to fade out, and there's nobody else really other than Indiana that looks like they're going to be staying in the picture in the next couple of years. The rest of it's so uncertain, it's there for the taking. But if the Bulls continue to stick stubbornly to this plan that they have now, all they're going to be is that middle-of-the-road team that plays hard for their coach. And then you look at their head coach, they might not even keep Thibodeau after this year. So why would you keep this team assembled the way it currently is? It sucks what happened to Derrick Rose. It makes me sad because, I thought it was a great story. The hometown kid, the number 1 overall pick. They rigged the draft lottery for the Bulls to get that pick, damn it. And he was going to be the man. He was going to be the second greatest player in Bulls history after Michael Jeffrey Jordan. And now we're talking about 2 straight seasons missed because of knee injuries. And an organization that, if they continue to stubbornly stick to this plan, is going to get sucked down into the abyss that could take years to potentially recover from. I'd rather be ahead of the curve than behind the curve. The time to blow things up and rebuild is right now. And yes, that does mean the possibility of trading Derrick Rose. Nobody, and I mean nobody, is sacred or untouchable at this point for the Bullies. Period.